just a remarkable day, you know, historic for the wrong reasons for me. But before I dive into that, which I'll do quickly, let me take our minds back. The purpose of this show for me on television with great minds like you is to inform, educate, and enlighten our people.
Indeed.
And I hope I'm going to achieve that this morning as quickly as we can with the shortness of the time we have. In 1999, after the elections, in Oyo, one of the senatorial districts in Oyo State, my party, then Alliance for Democracy, won decisively. They won almost everywhere in the Southwest. But it wasn't clear who the candidate of the party was. I knew as the secretary of the party, but then there was contestation between one Peter Deyemo and one Chief Ayoka Lawani. At the end of the day, the party resolved that it was Peter Deyemo. So what was not in contest was that the party won. Because there's no name of Peter Ayoka Lawani on the ballot paper. It was Alliance for Democracy, the name, the image, and the motto. And that has persisted 6 years down the democratic line. That individuals are really anonymous. The mandates are given to the political party, not to individuals, not to Peter Mbah, not to...
There was a Supreme Court judgment to reinforce that, and that was what brought
not even one or two, several. So individuals, as important as they are very small players in this game of power, because the party is the symbol of power. The people in the millions troop out to vote for a party. But they say this is the program of the party as enunciated by the character, the individual who is the wielder of that mandate, or going to be with that mandate, whether it's a senator, a governor, a rep, or whatever. So Peter Mbah did not win an election. PDP won an election in Enugu State. He just had the trust for the people. And that trust was desacralized yesterday because it was almost an abominable act, because people gave you mandate in the videos and they said, I have a broom somewhere. Like the VP even pointed out, so I'm bringing that, but beyond that. That's why I wanted to settle that first call. In conversing on this matter, people should be very careful about the kind of democratic tradition and culture we are building. Yesterday was not a political surrender for the South. It was equally a cultural surrender. Because you must understand there's some moral boundaries you don't cross in politics. We've crossed several. And the media have a role to play. You can't build an inclusive multi-party democracy when people see, maybe not illegal in terms of constitutional provisions, very, very unsavory and very unclear, but clearly unethical conduct on part of the political class. Another instance, in 2003, my party, Alliance for Democracy, cut a deal with then President Obasanjo to feed him as a candidate, to secure a base for him in the Southwest. He did very bad in 1999. He agreed. Somehow or the other, 5 of the governors were swept away, and PDP became dominant. Only 1 governor survived. That's Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He didn't decamp to PDP. He didn't strengthen his party's inclusion into the federal state by leaving his party. He was alone. He was on the trenches. I've said this before here. That's whenever I criticize the president to attack his policy, it doesn't mean I don't understand history. Maybe the conduct of his presidency today is something I quarrel with. But he stood firm with courage, with determination. And a lot of people gave him kudos for that. And Obasanjo, the president, then fought him. Seized local government money, actually politically oppressed him. And he got that mandate by resolute will, by what they call mandate protection, to ensure that the mandate was protected. And rebuilt that party. And his party began increasingly to take back the Southwest. Took Osun, took Ekiti, Oyo, etc. That's his history. The point is, these governors who are the campaign, of what tenor are they made of? Are they with the moral fiber and authority to say, my party is in crisis, and I'm going to look at the constitutional provision. If my party is in crisis, I can run away. The president then didn't run away. Who is actually encouraging this, possibly encouraging this decapitation of the political system and the crumbling and fragmentation of political order? He didn't run away. He stood firm. These ones with their legs, with their tails between their legs, are running out of cowardice and godlessness. Now, they gave you 2 reasons. The governor yesterday gave 2 reasons. One, prosperity. You can have achieved prosperity as the governor of Lagos State achieved. Why is it a benchmark that Lagos State have been? Not because of the resources alone, because of the capacity to govern well, and they hand over to someone who govern well. It can be a resourceful governor and prosper a state by being in PDP, by being in APC, by being in ADC, by being in any party. Secondly, I hear the governor talked about what the PDP didn't do for the Saudis for 25 years. That is not true. Outside the presidency, the PDP have done everything for the leadership of the party, for the elite, who should do for the people the position they were granted them. But on the presidency and the VP-ship, they've got everything else. But 2023, they had a son. Peter will be in the race. The league of South is back, including Governor Peter Mbah. Now 2027, he's still marching on with a wind behind his back, with the masses pouring out his support. Are they going to back him? Is it by joining APC that will back your own son to now realize that the PDP denied him? From 1999, had about 4 ministers of aviation, very crucial ministry, had an AGF. We have had at a time Senate Committee Chairman on Works, House Committee Chairman on Works, several times at the same time. Deputy Speaker, Deputy, NGF, and so on. We've had even 2 IGPs, all granted by the PDP. That's Okiro, that's Onovo. We've had Yejirika from 1966, Army Chief. The only job available left, and of course 5 Senate presidents. For 2 states, 5 for every state, for 1 for every state. So for any governor, including him, to talk about prosperity as a foundational reason to move, or that of lack of inclusion, or what PDP has done to the zone, that is actually begging the matter. For me, some of these governors like what I call genealogy of power, ancestry of power. They do not understand what this thing means.
You have said that it is unethical for them to move, but it is not illegal.
Well, as the Constitution is not very, precise, that's why people who want to amend the Constitution further want to tighten that. Almost all the critical figures in civil society, even the political leadership of the country, said it is important for people to preserve the sanctity of the mandate given them. So if you are given a mandate and you walk away, resign.
What I'm just trying to look at now.
So you can now declare that seat open for the people to come back. But as it is for now, it's still murky water of legality.
Prof, you and I know that politicians rarely resign in this part of
I understand where we have got it.
Yes,
to.
but
I should not clap for them.
What we're looking at, is where this leaves the political arrangement, because we know that traditionally, the Southeast has been a stronghold, a base of the PDP. It would seem that the people of the Southeast have shown great loyalty to the PDP, apart from Anambra, where APGA has held sway. It would seem that it would be suicide for anybody to want to be governor of Anambra State, not on the platform of... it's unclear. We'll see whether that will continue to remain true in the next 3 weeks when, Anambrians go to the poll. But in this instance, from what we have seen so far, APGA has held the Southeast very, very... sorry, not the Southeast. Has held Anambra State very strongly, the same way the PDP has held it. But we're now saying this defection. The question is whether the people of the Southeast will be able to get used to this new arrangement that their governors are trying to pull them into.
There is what one can call, it is not strange in an evolving democratic order like ours, that of course is a liberal and authoritarian in character, content, and context. It is not unusual for this to happen, to inorganically develop a party from nothing to something. Umahi did it in Ebonyi. The current Minister of Works, he was PDP. He just woke up like this other governor and said, I'm going to APC. And then with the apparatus of power under his command, and given the repressed state of our national condition and poverty in the land, people with him, all the, maybe the members of the National Assembly, some of them, State Assembly, local government apparatuses, all moved along in order to survive politically. Suddenly, from nothing, APC became the dominant force in Ebonyi. Abia is even a better case.
But he had a very tough time. He admitted it, that even though locally he was able to get the APC to be governor, to be the governor, to retain governorship in Ebonyi State. It was a problem.
Yes, I know, because
people to vote for the APC at the national level.
Because people resisted at that level of his own side. It's okay, fine, but at the national, they resisted, and it's going to happen in 2027. Absolutely. Even Abia is a little bit more organic. The surge that brought, Oti to power on the maybe the tail of the P2B insurgency and so on, insurgent political movement. Now, in 2027, we don't know what shape and form these dynamics will take. We don't know the line of the presidential candidates. We don't know whether P2B is going to emerge somewhere as a candidate of a party, including that of PDP too. People are running scared because ultimately the right is that of the people to choose their leaders. So why the PDP and other parties are suffering this fragmentation at the upper crust, the base of the party remain intact? I'm in touch with people in Enugu State. There's palpable anger. Bring anybody else who says supporting P2B on this studio.
Yeah, but
yes, I said there's palpable anger.
Interestingly, yesterday when we saw the governor defect, it wasn't just the governor. We saw past governors.
Yes.
We saw Sullivan Chime, right there.
Even there.
We saw Buruburu, I'm trying to remember his name. Ugwai, yeah, who was also there with him as well.
Oh, so sure, I said the elite. It's an elite thing. Maybe you can break it down, the genealogy of this individual, politically speaking.
Yes.
Suleiman Chim has only been APC for years. Possibly maybe after he left office, 2015 or so. He quickly moved into APC. He's been there for almost 10 years. Ugwai, of course, his own politics. Among these 5 governors, the G5 governors who didn't back the party, who are say somehow sympathetic to the other side that now we are defected to, and of course he prepared, Mbah from anonymity, political anonymity, to where he eventually became the governor after a bitter struggle with Labour Party there. So even if I was in the president, can a man is APC? At the end of the day, ask yourself, did you want not to lose the election? Last time around, he lost the election. Did Suleiman deliver his own or his word in 2023 when B2B was running for presidency? Can a man as a stronger is and I respect him as a moral force. But let's face it is part of the upper class of the elite. The mass of the people remain firm. 20% will determine whether a few elite, not the millions who voted for the governor, but a few people in their smoke-filled room, that traditional sense of power brokerage, will decide the fortunes and destiny of the people. But the matter I wanted to put to rest, which I'm sure I've done remarkably well, is the matter of prosperity is an afterthought. The majority of the Southeast does not hold water because beyond that search for the presidency, which their son is persistently seeking now, and he's even in a poor position to get it, they're not backing him. So there are other reasons. And for me, I don't even think it's in terms of ideological realignment. It's a question of cowardice, gutlessness, and chicken-heartedness. That's the reason why they're leaving. Not only him, but a few other governors.
Yeah, but when you look at what is happening in the PDP, because let's not forget, yesterday the PDP was in court. They're supposed to be holding a national convention in Ibadan, and they had a they were supposed to have a representation. And there were issues of who is going to represent. Yes, there were issues. Okay, the chairman represented somebody. The legal advisor said, no, you do not have the right. That is solely within my purview. And even though they were given time in court to, sort the matter out, they still couldn't come to a resolution.
Fine. Let me put it this way. Parties are made up of individuals. These individuals have contrasting viewpoints, perspectives, they have tendencies. Democracy induces conflict because it gives you freedom to express yourself, like in PDP or any other party, even Labour Party, and so on. But democracy provides the mechanism for internal conflict resolution. That means crisis in the PDP is normal, even when it is persistent. And these crises come of two modes. The crises that are organic, internal contradictions, because of relationship between people and institutions and structures in the party. The crisis that is imposed from the outside. Anybody who is a careful observer of the political system will tell you that most of the PDP crises are externally imposed. There's simply the desire of the president and his crew, who are praised here, that he's a tenacious fighter. And this government should learn from him how to be courageous and stay because where they are. The decision, that mindset that 2027 is a day of reckoning for me, and I need to win this election. So what that means is that it's not how I govern, how well I govern, how well I run my party, but how I dismantle the apparatuses of multi-party democracy. So that if I have in 2027, and they bring the election forward, as they're planning to do, the parties will be grappling for life, breathing in a laborious manner, and then I'm in there. So part of this crisis, we must understand a crisis, and when the powerful force, like the presidential force, is after you, you must have that tendency to spirit to survive. That is why I praise the like of Governor Bala Mohammed Abauchi, the chairman of the Governors Forum, who received the vice president and 2 former presidents, Obasanjo and Jonathan, some time ago at the summit. The senator came back and said, in inaugurating my subcommittee, let me reaffirm my loyalty to the party, and let me even throw shade at those who are decamping. I'm going to share Makinde, who was there in court yesterday to say, I'm from the Southwest, he's from the Southwest, but I'm part of the PDP family. It's not anything wrong. We can't be an enemy of the state for being a loyal member of your party. But these other ones who are checking out, we wish them luck. It is the people that will determine their fate somewhere down the line.
Well, I was going to say, well, that certainly brings us to INEC and, what exactly is happening there. But let's go to Lagos, because I know that Ayo has questions for you as well. Ayo.
Thank you, Markwe. I think that's actually a good point, to continue that conversation. But let me ask this first, Prof. The question that's played on my mind is, some governors, we hear that there are a number of other governors who may be thinking, or rather, as you also hinted, and Markwe, there are other governors who may have an umbrella, a broom somewhere around other icons,
under the umbrella.
other icons that they play with. But the concern for me is how that affects governance in the states. What we hear some of these governors say, I think the governor of Akwa Ibom said the same thing, the governor of Enugu State is saying the same thing now, they want to integrate to the center and all of that. From where you sit, what could it mean to the average person in each of those states?
Okay, I take my bearing by going back again. You know, you had me loud and clear. On this stage and severally, I've not been a political friend of the president in terms of my analysis, interpretation of his policies. But today is a different conversation about politics and power. The answer to your question is to go back and look at that model in 2003, when the PDP swept the 5 states on the southwest and the governor stood firm and said, I do not need to be part of the so-called center, the PDP center, to survive, for my state to survive and prosper. Yes, Lagos is uniquely positioned to prosper and survive. But if you are not a good governor, you have a good team, such potentials you have there, those potentials will not even take the state forward. But he did the best he can, not only to govern as best as he could, but he wanted to transfer power to people who successfully made Lagos, they say, a better place than they made it. That means he do not even need the so-called center in a federal state, in a federal system. At least we purport the system to be a federal system. And incredibly, the governor of Akwa Ibom should understand that Akwa Ibom State is one of the richest states in Nigeria in terms of revenue allocation, what they get from the regular allocation, the revision fund, maybe ecology fund, etc. You have other resources to develop your state, to rebuild infrastructure, to empower the people for human capacity building or human infrastructure building to occur. Indeed, it don't even need to be part of the so-called federal center. By federal center, it means part of the ruling party. To be friends of the center. Remember in the Second Republic, there's some Mbah, governor of Imo State, proud MPP card holder and governor, you know, very loyal acolyte of Nnamdi Azikiwe, was dubbed the crying governor because he was persistently we go to Lagos, then our capital, to play with Shagari, to look at Imo State, to help us. And the president listened to him and granted most of his wishes. So it could be part of that opposition force in PDP or Labour or which other party there and still be part of what is happening at the center. I mentioned the governor of Bauchi State. The VP came to commission the summit or to open the summit. At the same time, that means he's not an enemy of state. He respects the president and his team. At the same time, he's still very strong and viable as a governor of Bauchi State under the PDP platform.
To the political permutations. There are those who have alleged on more than one occasion that some of these defections are machinated surreptitiously by the president or the presidency. Do you think the president has a hand in all these defections?
Well, I've already told more about that there are two forms of conflict or crisis in the party. The organic one, the one that you and I belong to a party, and we have to quarrel sometimes. It's human, you know, to quarrel and then make up or part ways. Then if we don't have any reason to quarrel, but the quarrel is induced by a powerful force, maybe greater than us from outside, sometimes we may even fall under the threat of that crisis. So this constructed crisis in PDP is, of course, you have to search for the source of that conflict from the president. And the presidency is clear. The mandate he has now, it will expire in the next 2 or less than 2 years. And they want to renew it. The best way to renew that is to decapitate the PDP primarily. Not the other party, ADC, because they're typically watching ADC. Okay, some big names there, some names.
But you also heard the president.
My
apologies, Prof. You also heard the president say when he was making that presentation in the National Assembly, look, you guys go solve your problems.
That is happy with the crisis.
He said, you guys go solve your problems. But if you continue to be in crisis, it is my joy that you are in crisis. So
I keep on taking you.
Exactly. So, I mean, what's it got to do with it? If they are not able to solve their own problems.
Okay, that's a smart thing to say. And of course, politicians speak what they call double speak, you know, from both sides of the mouth. On the one hand, he's permitted his acolytes, his foot soldiers to keep on pummeling this party. It's not just the PDP. Look at what is happening with the Labour now. Initially, they say it's the Nadios man, you know, it's fractional, tendency they recognize. I hear this Abure side now. There's a crisis in the Labour Party, they're out of, they're back into it via INEC interim chairman. That's a subject for another day. yes, on the one hand, solve your problem. I get that template. That the president of the country, as the governor of Lagos State, solved his one problem. Stood firm, courageous. So I'm not actually taking anything away from what he said. If you can't solve your problem, I could help you solve your problem in a way we don't like it. So these governors have no ancestry of power, genealogy of power. Some of them are corporate players and business people. They have no understanding of where this democracy is coming from and the need. For in the East, for example, Enugu as a epicenter of the spiritual epicenter of resistance has culturally crumbled. He's not the president making, even though he may wish it so or advance that agenda. Your duty is to hold firm.
Okay.
On the pressure, he's being mounted upon.
Interesting. Now, so does this have anything? This chests, of course, of the that one can put it, of the APC's growth, the war chest, so to speak, of the APC growing. Do you see it as an edge against the opposition, against the Obi, the movement of Mr. Peter Obi, or the amalgamation of other political forces into the ADC? Do you see them still being a threat, or you think this is one of those defections that's going to quench all power?
Okay, now let's put it this way. You and I know the consequences of gluttony. When you overeat, overindulge, you suffer obesity or flatulence, or the two. And these are debilitating physical conditions. So PDP suffered it. 2003, they gobbled up Southwest, minus Lagos. They've already controlled the South-South, the entire 6 states. They are in charge of the 6 states of the Southeast. And the entire southern part of Nigeria, PDP was in power in 16 out of the 17 states. So it is not new. In North Central, they had about 4 or so out of the 6. They had Kaduna then, they had Katsina, and so on. So the list goes on. What APC is doing now was what PDP did, to a very terrible historical consequence. When you overgorge yourself, you have to disgorge that which you put inside of you. APC will disgorge that which has, fattened it abnormally. Maybe 2027, when they have crisis and conflict of interest, people are dislodged, like in the Enugu state now, they're going to review their chance and say, what the hell is all this? New character from PDP has come in to take over what we have. And they do the nomination process, and the other parties typically wait for you to do your own. They grab everything you have, rebalance the power, rebalance the equation. And most importantly, the people will be the last to speak, not the few political elite in the shenanigans, but the mass of the people.
I hear you say that the people will be the last to speak, and they speak through the ballot.
Absolutely.
And, we know that a new leadership, or will I say a new headship, has been appointed for INEC. We're still waiting for it to go to the National Assembly. The president has now written, if you can, in about a minute or so, can you set some agenda for the new INEC chairman?
If I say an agenda for him,
yes,
I must deposit this. That institution is sorely lacking in legitimacy and credibility. It is no longer authentic as an independent agency. It's not the problem of Parliament, who appointed this new chairman. It's a problem of the appointing authority. Once you take it away from the president and make it a lot more independent, then by genuinely to be independent electoral commission, that is an apparatus of the presidency, maybe of the previous PDP presidency, now of this APC presidency. That's where the trust deficit will begin. That this new chairman, I've seen his credentials and some controversies around it. These are not very important. What is important is who chose him, why did he choose him. It happened with the case of NNPC GMD from the North Central, but Yoruba extraction. It happened now with this INEC chairman, North Central Kogi, or Yoruba extraction. It's almost the same picture of hegemonies of power, both at the presidential level, security level, and financial level of the country. It's been appropriated. For what reason? Maybe this election 2027 may be manipulated, maybe not. Maybe he's going to put his feet down. My advice to him is to simply look at his own history and background as a professor of law and his ethics as a scholar, and said, I may have been brought here to do something, but I'm going to do this and discharge my responsibilities to the best of my ability and talent, and with fear of God and man and woman, being his guide.
I think it's a fine place to leave it. We'll certainly be looking forward to, the screening by the National Assembly, and of course what he will have to say on the floor. It
will be a walkover, because already the Council of State have done, and we see this National Assembly to be a rubber stamp. So they will actually get him through without any problem.
Well, let us see, at least, even it's going to be a rubber stamp, what his own statement.
The Senate President said himself, but whatever the President wants, they'll give it to him. So he wants this one, they'll give it to him too.
Well, Professor Udenta, we have to thank you very much for coming on Sunrise Daily. He is the founding National Secretary of the Alliance for Democracy. Thank you once more.
Thank you, it's a pleasure, Mowbray. Abayo, always hitting from Lagos.
Indeed.